So my name is Dr. Ray Omid, and one of the things that we do is we help people get healthy naturally. And my mission started when I was a child, watching my father get sick, taking a lot of different forms of medication. By the time he was 50, he was on 14 different forms of medication. I watched my dad go through 2 strokes. I watched him get cancer 3 times. And the second
3 times?
3 times.
Wow.
The second time he got it, I'll never forget. I went to the oncologist with my father, and I wanted to understand how the cancer developed, because he was doing everything right as far as what the doctor was recommending, and still he had it come back. And so I remember the oncologist teaching me that their job as an oncologist was not to find the root cause or to build the health and prevent it, but instead to manage it. And so what I decided to do is I asked some questions as far as what caused the cancer to develop, and he really didn't know. And then I asked him, like, well, how do you prevent it? And he said, you should look into healthy habits. And I said, well, where do I learn that? And he said, well, look into holistic healthcare. And so I'll never forget it. I went home and I was looking at, where the schools were that taught that. And there was a school in Atlanta, Georgia. So I packed my stuff and moved down there to get my doctorate degree in chiropractic and natural healthcare. And I went to the school for 4 years, and every time there was a seminar on the weekends or the weeknights, I'd be at a seminar. I think I went to 650 seminars in a period of 4 years. I got certified in all different techniques. I learned about acupuncture, biofeedback, homeopathy, different chiropractic techniques. But the one thing that was the most amazing to me is really learning how the body was designed to be healthy and how to build it back and how to have healthy habits. So I graduated school, and I was all excited to come back to New York and help my dad implement healthy habits in his eating regimen and his diet, and teach him how to build his health. And right about the time I moved back, my mom let me know my dad was in the emergency room, and they were giving him 3 weeks to live because the cancer came back for a 3rd time and now spread all over his intestines. And I went down to the prostate cancer, became metastatic cancer, colon cancer had spread into. And I went down to the emergency room, and my dad was hooked up on all these IV tubes, and he could barely speak. And, I knew at that point that I had to be the one that implemented change. And I'll never forget, I actually asked the oncologist if I could do some of the things I was taught. And his response was, I don't think any of it will work. He was just like, none of that stuff works. I was like, well, I'm going to do it anyway.
It's my dad.
Right. So I'll never forget it. I would take all these nutrients, and at the time he had a feeding tube, so I would crush up all these nutrients that were pills into liquid and put it in the feeding tube and get it down. And most importantly, we unlocked the vertebrae, the spine that was out of position in the neck, because when the spine is out of position, it disrupts the way the brain communicates or sends signals to the body. So we focused in on clearing that up. And what ended up happening is I watched my dad make a slow recovery, where he moved from the emergency room into a regular hospital bed. And from a regular hospital bed, he was moved into a rehabilitation center in Glen Cove. And about 3 months after his death sentence, my dad was home for Thanksgiving. And I'll never forget looking at him and thinking in my head, he looked healthier in that moment than all those times doing all those drugs. Because our focus
which
wasn't
was supposed to technically heal him.
Right. Because the focus wasn't on treating disease, it was on building health. And, my dad would go for follow-up exams every 3 months, and a year later it was completely gone. And that's when I recognized what the body can do. Because I always tell people, it's not that we heal this cancer, it's that the power that made the body heals the body as long as there's nothing interfering with it and you're supporting it right.
That's right.
So I started recognizing that if we were to support the body right, it can heal. And the body can do amazing things. So I tell people all the time, my dad's body heals itself, like we all have the same capacity to do, but a lot of us don't get to express that potential because there are factors interfering with it. So I made it a commitment to just donate my time and talk to people about what they need to do, and then created a practice where they can actually get their answers and get well. It's been just a beautiful journey.
That's amazing. Like you said, it's internal, and if things are interfering, then no matter what type of efforts you put forward, it's fighting resistance.
All healing is an inside job. All health is an inside job. God gave us the power to heal, but they can be interfered with.
That's right. That's right.
We always say the power that made the body heals the body, and it doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But that is, that's inspiring to say, the very least, as far as, because a lot of people think cancer chemotherapy is the only way. And
you break apart the words in the word chemo and therapy. Chemo means chemicals, and what we fail to remember is that our body makes chemicals that kill cancer, and it does it every day. In a healthy body, there's there are chemicals being made to kill off, because in a healthy body you have about 10,000 cancer cells a day, but yet your Th1, the T helper cells, they secrete interferons and interleukins, and they kill off cancer. And so if the body's not making those chemicals, you really want to find out why the body's not making it. And the thing about it, I mean, the body is just truly amazing. They're doing studies at the Albert Einstein School of Medicine right now where they're trying to trigger autophagy, which is a state where the body needs fuel, and if it's not getting it from the food you're eating, it turns to within. It's a form, they find fasting gets you into the state where it actually burns cancer cells from the inside out. And that's another thing that helps in that scenario is intermittent fasting or block fasting or juice fasting. But the most important thing is really to recognize our body has the potential to make its own chemicals, and the chemotherapy that our body makes have no side effects. And then when they try to duplicate it in a laboratory, it comes with side effects. So they have interferon therapy. They sell it to people, but they don't find out why your body's not making it.
And it naturally comes from the body.
Exactly. So if your body's not making it, you really need to find out why. Because even if you take the chemical from the outside to kill the cancer, if the body didn't find out why it's not making it, it still is not making it. So now you're gonna end up in the same position in a couple of years.
Just like you said, spraying over the check engine light. You're masking the symptom, but you're not taking care of the root of the problem. So as far as like the fasting thing, would you recommend that be? Because me, for example, I fast at the beginning of the month for 3 days, and then I practice intermittent fasting as well. How often would you say someone should fast, as a general practice?
I think it's one of those things where you have to know your body. It's based on how much activity the individual has, right? Because if you're doing I started playing tennis, and so I'm playing an hour and a half a day. On those days, if I'm fasting all night, okay, I can go 1-2 days. My body will use glycogen stores. It'll get rid of that. But there'll be a point where it's overload. So it really is about knowing your body. On a rest day, easily you can fast all night. I mean, if you're not doing activity and you wanted to go 4 days, 5 days, you could still do it. If you did slow aerobic activity and got your body used to utilizing ketones and breaking down fat properly, then that works too. But if you shock the body with a high intense and anaerobic workout, and it's not used to going into ketosis, you're going to overload it.
You get that lightheaded.
You get that lighthearted because your body's not making the conversion, and it's got no sugars, fuel, so now it's kind of like, faint. It doesn't have any fuel at all. Absolutely right. So I think intermittent fasting is great for people to do, whether they do dinner to dinner or even dinner to lunch the next day. It's very powerful. But, it really requires checking in with yourself and just kind of getting that feel of what does my body really need right now? I think so many people eat out of comfort, and they eat out of boredom, and they
emotional
eat, exactly right. And they think that your body needs food, and in reality, it needs fuel, not food. And it can get fuel from within. This is all reserves. It can use abnormal cells as a fuel source. And you can have nutrient-dense foods that are low-calorie, like fruits and vegetables and nuts that feed the body fuel too. So it doesn't need food. People don't realize fasting is not starving your body. Your body gets food from within. It's got fuel.
Fat stores.
Exactly. Fat stores are key because they're a cleaner metabolic source. Ketones are a better metabolic source, and the fat's going to break down to ketones in the liver, and ketones is a better fuel source for the brain, and it's better fuel and longer fuel and more efficient fuel. And you want fuel is what you need there. You need fuel to metabolize. So what happens is that ketones are always the primary source for fuel. But most people, because they're so used to feasting all the time, they never fast.
They get used to that. They're like, as soon as they feel a little bit of grumbling in the stomach, they're like, oh no, I have to go and eat again.
And they're not used to thinking, but in ancient cultures, they had feast and famine cycles. They had both. In America, it's just feast. There's no famine ever. So, we don't activate that part of us that we really need to activate. So, and I say everything is seasonal. The thing about that is you can be on a fasting protocol for 3-6 months, and then go to not doing it for a month or two, and then go back. Seasonal, the body loves variety. It's just like working out. You do the same thing all the time. There, you hit plateaus. So you got to change everything. Variation is key. Diet variation is key too. Most people don't take that into consideration, but your workouts and your diet should be varied through different seasons, and that's so important to know. And even in the week, you can vary. In other words, you can do dinner to dinner one day, the next time dinner to lunch, and then the next time
it doesn't have to be a fix.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of people, they get discouraged like that because they're like. And what I tell a lot of my clients, I'm like, if you don't see yourself, people are like, oh, I have to be able to maintain this for a year. I'm like, no, you can switch it up. It's a lifestyle. So you want to make it something that you know you can quote unquote
100%.
sustain.
And everybody has got to get in touch with their own body. And the thing about fasting is it gets easier as you do it more often because your body gets used to getting into ketogenics and turning on those the fuel source. But what happens is like when people do it the first time, they're turned off by it because the first day and the second day is hard because they've never activated fat stores that way. Their body's so used to using food as fuel.
Yeah.
So, but the more you do it, the better off it is. And so I always say it's like, if we have and we tell our patients, if you did it one day and it didn't work out, you couldn't make it to day 2, do it again and see how it goes.
Exactly. Don't throw in the towel immediately. If you can't go for like you're doing a 3-day fast, like for me, the first day I'm like I cannot, and mind you, I love fitness and health. But I'm like, this is hard. But then the second time, didn't even think about it. Third time, I'm like, and you feel really good. You feel the benefits, and you're not even thinking about, oh man, I'm starving. And then when you eat that food, it tastes a lot better.
Absolutely. And when you look at the benefits of it, I mean, it balances your blood sugar, it optimizes hormone function, increases growth hormone, it decreases inflammatory responses. It even activates, they measured the SIRT1 gene, which is the gene for longevity. They found that fasting activates that. So there's so many benefits there. It also balances the microbiome of the gut. So you have all these people taking 18 bottles of nutrition for each one of these problems, where if they just ate better and fasted,
taken care of.
Yeah.
And then as far as like diabetes, a lot of people think like once you, of course, depending on the type of diabetes that you have, but especially based on lifestyle, they're like type 1 or whatever. They're like, I can't I'm done. When I get diabetes, my life is over. What kind of...
I think the most important part is for people with diabetes that they have to realize there are 2 fuel sources, not just one. They're so used to using sugar, and starch converts to sugar, whether talking about pasta, bread, rice, potatoes. But the thing is, you can use ketones. So if someone has type 1 diabetes, to me, that's just an indication that their body prefers ketones. So let's give it ketones. It's like, hey, if you're not genetically prone to, because you don't have the proper beta cells to produce insulin to really have sugar go from the blood into the cell, then let's change our fuel source. Let's turn to ketones and get your body into ketogenics. And if you're in ketogenics, your blood sugar is regulated. You don't have to take anything for it because your blood sugar is not out of balance. So you turn into a ketogenic model where they're having good high fat, moderate protein, very low carbs. They keep their carbs under 20-30 grams and they're good to go on that.
So I guess automatically always really comes back to like you said, understanding your body.
Yeah, because there are certain metabolic preferences. That's all. So to me, when somebody has diabetic, okay, they have a metabolic preference to not use sugar as fuel.
That makes sense.
It's not you don't take sugar and then try to artificially manipulate the body against its will. Your body's saying no.
And that's it. You gotta listen to it
to the body.
And
you have a metabolic preference that's different. So honor that, And I think it's learning to honor the body on that. And if they do that, then they're fine. And they've done studies that show that ketogenic diets have significant impact on even diabetics type 1. But if that person's metabolic preference is not to have sugar and starches, and they want to go back to it, well, they can end up in the same problematic scenario. But there's nothing wrong with having your body run on ketones. In fact, it's a better fuel source. And they're also,
cognitive function.
That's right. Cognitive function is enhanced. Immune function is enhanced. Digestion is enhanced. Everything enhances from ketogenics. So better fuel source. Your body knows.
There we go. And last thing, the protein carbohydrate mix, like we said, earlier on, my dad did tell me about that, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I read these things, and you should mix your protein and your carbs.
So the dynamic is this, when we think about chemistry class, if we mix an acid and a base together, it has a neutralizing effect. And the protein and carbohydrates, they need different environments in order to digest properly. For example, the protein, primarily it operates on acidic environments. The acid in the stomach is what breaks it down. Well, when you have carbohydrates, a lot of the alkalinity that's necessary in the digestive system is in the small intestine. Produced the amylase levels need a good alkaline environment to break down. So if you have too much acid being produced and too much alkaline, it's just too much of a stress on the body. So you tend to run into problems where the food doesn't get digested right. So if you just separate it out a little bit more, as less stress of producing acid and alkaline at the same time, having it all run together, you're going to notice a lot more energy. So we always tell people, it's not that you don't have to eat certain foods, it's that you can eat them at different times. and have a better effect. You know, like the typical burger on bread or fish with rice is going to end up being a little bit more problematic for that individual. But if they have the fish with vegetables and then they have their rice later on, they're going to be better off.
That makes sense. So as far as, like you said, just because one way works doesn't mean that there's not a better way.
Exactly
to do
right.
it.
Because it's. I always tell people the food that you eat is going to do one of two things. Either it's going to give your body energy, or it's going to deplete energy to metabolize. So if you have foods that are more dead in nature, your body's going to give its energy to metabolize it. So if you're mixing food, you're doing food combining, it's one of those energy poor type dynamics. So you're depleting energy in the process. So even if people say, well, I got no problem with it, you're still depleting energy. And if you were to separate it out,
you'd have more energy.
You'd have an energy.
Even if you have energy already.
You'd have energy rich environment. Yeah, your body would utilize it better because it's designed to do it that way.
Yeah, so you're just helping the body do what it naturally is supposed to do anyway.
And everything you do, you're always thinking through whether it's energy rich or energy poor. Conversations that you have, interactions you have with people, is it energy rich or energy poor? That's the way I think about it. If I'm watching a TV show, is it energy rich or energy poor? Things that are energy poor are going to make you tired at the end of it. You're going to want to go to sleep. Drama TV is energy poor. Unfortunately, you're never going to leave drama TV and go, I feel amazing, I want to go for a run right now. It doesn't feed the spirit right. So the same with foods, the same with anything.
So that's like a different kind of definition to mind muscle connection, because usually when we think of mind muscle, talking about neuro exercise,
right.
But that's when you say that that's like mind muscle connection. You're watching something, if it feeds the mind in the right way, you're like, oh, I feel good, let me go out and act on that.
Right.
And then if it's the opposite, negative energy, you're like, I don't feel like doing anything,
right.
Oh, I'm depressed, just from indulging in that negative,
because it goes in on the subconscious level, and it's going to have an impact on the neurology. And the thing is, even if you don't want it to, anytime you watch anything that has to do with, it's designed to get you in drama. Like, it's designed to get you in a bad emotion. I don't need no help doing that. It's hard enough sustaining a good feeling on my own. I'm not looking for help to get into a negative emotion. That's the last thing I'm trying to do. So the fact that they call it drama TV, is your indicator. But now, on the other hand, if you watch comedy, when comedy is lighthearted, it creates endorphins in your body. You feel light after you're done. Oh, good, I feel good. I can, I have energy. So, you just got to be real mindful of what you watch, who you speak around. Energy rich or energy poor is what I always say.
Psychosomatic illness. You can think your way into...
Because it creates a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
People don't even realize that they're doing it because a lot of it is subconscious. So when you watch anything, you have to realize it's going to have an effect because it's going to have an emotional effect. And that's what a movie is designed to do, move you emotionally. But the question is, where to? Sometimes they pull you all the way in the gutter, and then they pull you back up.
And you're like, look,
and you're like, oh, I feel good. But you felt that good before you even watched that thing. So it didn't really get you anywhere. It's like an energy roller coaster. But if you start here and you watch something and it brings you up here, then that's energy rich.
That's good.
That's energy rich, yeah.
Definitely. So I think that was good. I appreciate Dr. Ray Omid.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.